Yeah, I'm Manfred Pauli. I work with the co-education labs in Worldbuilding. And today here I'd like to discuss a little bit on the Helix platform that we built actually to bring all of SAP into the ability to build VR, AR experiences without caring too much about all this other stuff. But before I go in there, I'm summarizing a little bit on VR, AR, immersion, how we see it there. I'll rush through this because I think you had already many talks that discussed that. A little bit on, is it actually just fun in the tutorial or is it real business? And then you can already imagine it's a business. And what can we do to get there as SAP? So first of all, I think I didn't hear any definition of what immersion means already today. So the idea is to be somewhere, even though you're not there, be in a virtual world, even though you are real. And if you take a look at that, what would you think you see? Maybe there are people surrounded by wildfire. Why don't they run away? Well, they are actually there to learn about nature and what the wildfire is good for in nature. And they don't run away because they're actually just an immersive installation. It feels a lot like being there. You can experience things, but you're in the safety of some installation. So there are installations like one of the Alberto Photo Nature Center that do these kind of explanations. But there are other installations like the cave or our own installation at TSG Hoffenheim. I'll come to that. I don't know whether 80s is really right or if this even is older, but trying to do things with virtual reality is pretty old. At that time, I think we needed a strong neck to actually experience that. Later on then, as the things become a little bit smaller, interaction was added, so you use this nice glove that allows you to do some interaction, but still it was very bulky, and even though also what you saw in it was pretty bulky. This is now from the 2000s, and even though it looks a little bit more realistic than very early things we had, I think you never would lose yourself in this reality thinking you're really there. But today things are there. So the hardware actually has arrived at a stage where it's for the mass market, and the content with the use of photogrammetry and other means really becomes that believable that we heard a lot about other necessities, you really can lose yourself in that reality. So maybe in the future AR, VR might be everywhere. Can you see it actually from here? Okay. Don't know. But you can also do things besides these realistic views into a non-realistic world. You can create your own worlds, like dive into data. So have other means of looking into data, making a world out of that data. You know, this is not realistic, but if you go to the movies and see a sci-fi film, you would maybe think, well, what you see there is not something that could really be there, but it's believable in its own context. So we can make up worlds which are believable just out of pure data with no real context in the real world. So this was a little bit about virtual reality, but I think the major stream that we will see in the future is actually mixing reality, augmented reality, but other mixes as well. IoT actually is one of the drivers for this. But what you need is kind of a knowledge of the real world when you want to augment it. So if I want to look at something and I want to get some information about that person or thing or something, I need to have kind of a digital twin of that object or person. So this is what needs to be built. And with the help of IoT, so sensors, and can then overlay the real picture with information. So, is it just toys or is it real business? I assume that if you have taken care about this topic, you might have read all kinds of thoughts by the big companies that look at technologies and rate how this is going. So there's predictions that this shall be a big market, but it's not only about the future, it's things that are already there. So for example, what I mentioned before, we are really doing projects already. What you see there is very small sort of big installation that we have at DSG Hoffenheim. This is a German soccer club that SAP is a main sponsor of. And we said, well, we will not just give them money and have our logos on their shirts, but also help them to improve. So together with their trainers, we built a system for cognitive training. You know, besides fast running and hard kicking, you need to also have some brains to see what's all around you. And the idea there is to track other players. I don't know whether you can really see it there, but our players that we are showing there are all looking the same. So the exercise that you're doing there is you have to keep some of them in your mind, or actually in your eyes. They run around and when they come back you have to name them. These are the ones I should track, and they all look the same, so I really need to track them. And we did this with the use of virtual reality. So we have a Unity-based application there, and we have a big immersive screen, half circle, 8 meters in diameter, 3 meters high. And if you look, if you get in there, it really looks a little bit like on the soccer pitch. There was another talk earlier that talked about how good has the resolution of the screen to be. So, but we found out that it's not the real thing. Those players behave very naturally, and the photo was taken when the German national women's soccer team was doing training there, and as they were singly standing there in the middle and the avatar players came running towards them, some of them actually took a step back. So they felt, oh, don't come too close to me, even though this is just a projection 4 meters away from them. So it feels very realistic. There were also talks about other things we are already doing, like the warehouse pickers thing. At the moment, more focusing, or from the past coming, being used with blue glass or the physics glasses. But I assume that soon we'll see also some HoloLens installation of this. And what we are also doing is an immersive, no, it's actually a robotic remote inspection case. The idea is that if you have to do inspections, you normally go there, do site inspections, but if your area is huge and you can't afford to send very many people around to inspect everything, you might use autonomous robots that run around and scan the area. They have sensors on them, and if they detect something that might indicate a problem, they send a message to an expert, and that expert can then, with the help of VR, look around. So we have 360 model building, either if you have open spaces by photogrammetry or by laser, and then the expert can really take a look, even though he's not there, he hasn't have to go there. So these were just 3 examples of what we're actually doing. But when doing these things, we found that there are quite many challenges that you have to overcome when building these things. So we all are used maybe to build UI5 or Fiori apps in the meantime, but VR AR is different. You have to build a world, you have to build 3D models, you have to care about rendering, shading, lighting, and these things. On the other hand, you have to do data access or access to IoT sensor values. You have to care about different platforms. Do you build something for a Rift or Vive? Do you build something for the cardboard? Or just for the immersive screen that talked about. And we found that all the work that we have been doing in these first cases should not be something that each and everybody at SAP who wants to build VR, AR components, really thinking it's always just components of the bigger picture of software. Not everybody should have to go through this. So we decided to build a platform that one actually can easily use by API calls. And this platform actually cares about world building. So you just have to tell, yes, 2 minutes? Okay. You just have to tell what you actually want to see there. Whether there are 3D models in there. We are building a connector to Visual Enterprise that actually get things in. What avatars you need. The platform itself cares about all that rendering, shading, lighting stuff. One thing we still have to work on, and as I'm speaking in front of a lot of designers, I assume, this is something I will ask everybody to join in doing this, because we need to build this SAP style, and there is no definition yet what SAP style in VR means. But I think we can actually build this, and as also earlier talk was discussing today, is that there is no common style for interaction in VR, AR at the moment, but there should be, so it's easier to consume. And if we go ahead and build a real cool interaction pattern and style like things look like, and we also can make it visibly connected to our other SAP style, I think that we can really be at the forefront. So we care about data access, have connectors to everywhere, because the platform actually is HCP based and has some connectors. Yeah, and in the matter of time, I think I shortened this a little bit. So what we built, we built this 360-degree world that can contain real reality, so a 360-degree video in which things are embedded, or completely virtual worlds, and we place the user in the midst of this. And whatever we build can then be played out on any platform, from cardboard to immersive screen, from HoloLens to Rift or Vive, or what may come in the future. That's all that we care about. And to go very little into technology, the architecture looks like this. We have the on-premise visualization. We put this on-premise because you need a very fast reaction on the visuals there. This is responsible for the world building, the local rendering, and so on. And whatever has to happen is being decided by some business logic app that can reside everywhere in the cloud, on-premise, what you like. Could be even built by third parties. And this calls with the API and tells what has what has to happen. So first, for the soccer example, for example, it says my world has to consist of a stadium of grass of 22 players and a scoreboard. And you get it. And then you say, I need them placed in this order, and then you have to say, okay, now I need the players to run around randomly. Or they have to jump for joy if you had a high score or something. And how this is actually being done in the rendering or the gaming engine, it's up to the platform. But the platform is not just the visualization, but all the things that you can see there are actually stored in the repository in the cloud. And here comes actually the approach. It's not something that my team is purely working on. The idea of the Helix is that everybody at SAP can contribute on that. So if someone is a designer and has an asset that should be used in a certain context, then can upload this into the repository. Someone else at SAP that builds business logic app for retail, transportation management, soccer, whatever you have here, can then use these to build their world. What we also have are interaction devices. So either you can plug some space mouse, joystick, HIVE controllers directly to the machine, to the local machine, or you can connect them via the cloud, which allows a user to manipulate something in the world that another user across the globe somewhere can then see, experience. And the things that I'm mentioning here, we talked about the robotics case, can also be integrated. So you can in real time steer a robot, and it is the same whether this robot is real or it's virtual. The means of interaction are exactly the same. So this is what we can do there. I think my talk here can just be very brief introduction to the topic. If you are interested, then maybe you just should join our AR/VR community on Gem. If you don't find it there, just drop me a note and I'll send you an invitation. So the idea, as I said, is that this is collaborative work on this. I have a development team also of people from all over SAP that dedicate some time of their work to this. And we build the basic infrastructure, and whatever is added to these in terms of assets or so is open to everybody to work on. That's it.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, we have like maybe 1 minute for one question, if anybody has one.
It sounds kind of like the platform is a game engine and also distribution and also like an asset store.
It's actually somewhere between the engine and the ready application. So the idea is, well, we have Unity underneath, and we have, well, you could call it an asset store, but these are actually more prefabs, and they are made in a certain way and stored in a certain way that you can get them for whatever platform you have. So we do some work in advance. The idea is that no matter what platform you actually are using or what application you are actually using, you're having the same basic set of things. You use the same, say, empty shell for visualization, and you can then, at the end, add all kinds of extensions to it. Okay, so thank you.